Hello, and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Josh Kerns, and my guest today is newly elected Spokane County Assessor Tom Konis. Tom, welcome to the show.
Josh, thank you for having me here today.
Yes, we're glad to have you. As we get started here, could you give our audience a little bit of background about yourself and your history with Spokane County?
Absolutely. I was born in Chicopee Falls, Massachusetts. My father was a career Air Force person. Moved around a lot. I went to 14 different schools. Graduated from Cheney High School. Met my wife there. We've been married a little over 40 years now. Have 4 daughters and 9 grandkids. I started out as a music major in college. Went on to become a singing waiter for 7 years at a restaurant called Grambo's on Mount Spokane. Also then went into hotel management business and wanted to get into real estate. My father had been involved in real estate, sold real estate with agency here in town for a while, and then really was excited about the appraisal aspect of it and wanted to become a fee appraiser. At that time, you have to apprentice with a licensed appraiser before you can get your own license, and was having troubles finding someone to do that with. And a job came up in Spokane County in 1993 that was funded through December of that year. This was on September 1st. I was hired by Spokane County for a job that was basically for 4 months long, and that was 25 years ago now. I worked myself from the residential appraiser up to, at the end, was the industrial commercial appraiser for Spokane County, responsible for all of the major industrial properties in town, all of downtown, and all of the major medical properties here in town.
All right. Well, that certainly is a risk. 4 months to have a job funded for, but it seems to have worked out quite well.
Thankfully, it has.
Yeah. So, what is it that made you decide to take a run for Spokane County Assessor?
This is about the last thing I ever thought of doing. I went to Vicki Horton, who was the assessor at the time. I had heard her chief deputy was thinking of retiring and wanted to be in consideration for his job. Mm-hmm. After I made my pitch to her, she basically said, "No, Tom, you can't have that." And I said, "Thank you very much," and I stood up to leave the room, and she said, "Because I don't intend to run again, and I'd like you to maybe try to take my spot." And that's exactly how it all turned out.
Wow.
We just went through an election. Out of 232,000 votes, I won by 153 votes. So definitely it proved a case where everybody's vote is important. Everybody's vote matters.
Absolutely. So having worked in the assessor's office for so long, you've worked under 4 different assessors. And so having done that, what would you say you've learned from the different leaders? I assume each of them had different leadership styles. What have you learned from working under 4 different assessors?
You're correct. I've tried to glean what I can from each one. I think the biggest thing that the assessor can do, and definitely what I learned on the campaign trail, is communication of what the duties of our office is, what we're doing at different times of the year. We have different cycles that are determined to us by the Department of Revenue's state calendar when we have to do a certain function of our office, be it inspections or new construction, calculating the levies, things to that effect. The communication skills that some of the assessors have had, I was very, very happy with, as far as out in the public a lot, speaking with the commissioners a lot, speaking with the other electeds, working on a team building kind of atmosphere. And then also the same thing with the staff, is to make sure that you are the face of the office and they know that you are there to help support them in getting the tools that they need to complete the job for the taxpayers of the county.
All right, all right. So one of the things in 2018, when the commissioners when we were developing our budget process, we developed these videos to try to kind of increase the transparency in county government, kind of pulling back the curtain on county government and showing folks what it is we do at Spokane County. We created these Know Your Government videos, and one of those videos focused specifically on the assessor's office. So we'd like to take a few minutes here to show our viewers a short video on what exactly goes on within the Spokane County Assessor's Office.
You know, the assessor's office identifies and determines the value of all taxable property, both real and personal property, in the county of Spokane. So we determine what the values are, and then from that, based upon the budgetary needs of the taxing districts, establish a levy rate. From that levy rate, taxes are calculated, and those taxes are then distributed into each of the taxing districts to determine what's your tax liability and what the overall taxes would be paid based upon the service levels that are provided to the county. Property tax is probably the most stable source of revenue for the county. It encompasses about 41% of the operating revenues for the county, so it's a stable force. Last year, there was about $618 million in property taxes collected. 56% of that actually goes to the schools, a good chunk of it. About 13.74% ends up going to the county and to the county road funds. It is also distributed to about 10.9%, over 67 million goes to fire, and about 15% or 93 million of those property taxes are paid to the cities and county jurisdiction. We have about 216,000 parcels in the county, of which about 185,000 are real property, the balance being in personal property and commercial after that. That's where the bulk of the value is. Last year we had about 45.2 billion in assessed value. This year it looks like we could be up to 50 billion in assessed value, creating a bigger, stronger base in which the taxes are going to be spread out over a wider area. So that's a good thing for the taxpayers. The employees that we have here at the county, we have 43 currently on staff. We have some extremely talented people that we've started these internal programs. We have an amazing ISD department and GIS department that has assisted us in continuing with some of those efforts to make us more efficient and streamline our operations. I'm extremely proud of the people that we have here. These are some hard working folks, and they want to do the best job that they can, and I'm just proud to be associated with these people.
Well, I think that was a fantastic overview of the work that goes on in the assessor's office. But since the creation of that video, there's actually been a couple of changes within the assessor's office. And one of them was the hiring of a few new positions within the assessor's office. And was hoping maybe you could give us an idea on what you envision those additional hires, the impact that they'll be having on the office.
Yes, thank you for asking. We are very excited about that. Of course, Spokane's real estate market right now is, if nothing more than really hot. We have a lot of development, we have a lot of new sales, we have a lot of new subdivisions going in. That has created a lot of work for our office, because if a developer buys a piece of property and wants to chop it up into building lots, that all has to go through us. So the commissioners, after we asked, have provided us with another segregation tech person. That's what they're doing. We're trying to get that backlog down. At one point, we were about 4 months behind on our segregations, which then ties up all of the real estate transactions that follow after that. We are now cutting into that margin quite a bit. We're right now only about 140 segregations behind, which is about 45 days. We would like to get under a 60-day window. The other thing, of course, is with all of the real estate transactions and the residential side, our residential appraisers were also under a lot of stress to get done. They were doing a lot more parcels than was even physically possible. So again, we went in and asked for 2 more residential appraisers, and we have hired those people and are in the process now of training them. And it has definitely helped the attitude in the office. It has taken a little bit of stress off of them, and we hope to be able to do a better job for the taxpayers of the county because we have those 2 people.
Fantastic. Can I ask, how many folks are actually going out into the community to the individual properties and assessing them?
You bet. We have a total of 22 appraisers. We have 15 residential appraisers and 7 commercial appraisers. And they are the ones that are actually our boots on the ground and are out on a daily basis, out looking at properties, doing their research on the market trends, as well as picking up the new construction and things to that effect. So.
Okay. How often does a property have to actually be physically visited by an appraiser? You know, how often do they actually have to put their eyes onto a property? And how was that determined?
By state law, it's once every 6 years. So we are on what's called a 6-year cycle. We are also an annual, what's called an annual county through the Department of Revenue, meaning that we can change the values every year. When I first started, we were a 4-year county. You would inspect 1/4 of the county every year. and you could only change the values of those. So the values would stay, the other ones would stay stagnant for 3 years. In an escalating market similar to what we've got now, where we're averaging 12 to 15% appreciation a year, that made for a large, substantial jump at the when it got back to their time in the cycle. So being an annual county, we can see then the values changing incrementally at a more tolerable level. It's still a pretty crazy market right now, though.
Okay. For a homeowner, what are they to expect when somebody comes by to appraise their property?
You bet. At a bare minimum, we are required to physically be on site and take a picture of the property to prove we were there. If we had the staff to do it, in the old days, we used to knock on every single door. We would try to talk to the owner, see what, to get a better idea what the condition and the quality of the property was inside. Right now, we don't have the manpower to do that. We do have a lot of other tools as far as multiple listing service information and things like that to get some of that. And then, of course, if you take out a building permit on that, we need to come and inspect that. And so we can update things that way. But we are allowed by state law to be on your property to do this physical inspection. We will not demand to come in your house. We would love to, but we won't demand that. We also won't go in your backyard if you have a fence and a gate, unless you ask us to come back there. So you don't need to worry about us peering in your windows or anything like that. We don't do that.
Okay. So how many parcels are there within Spokane County that are assessed?
A little over 233,000.
Okay.
With a total assessed value, taxable assessed value of just under $50 billion right now.
$50 billion. Yeah. Wow. With a B.
With a B. Takes a special calculator to extend that one out.
Wow. So could you explain to our viewers how exactly is a value of a home determined? So a single family residence on a parcel, how is the value determined on that property?
You bet. We have what is called a CAMA system. It's a computer-assisted mass appraisal system that is based on a company called Marshall & Swift, which is the leader in the industry for a cost-less depreciation approach. Basically, what we do is we will measure, if you have a brand new house, we will measure that house up, calculate the square footage, give our opinion as to the quality and the condition of the property, take notes of bedrooms, bathrooms, finished areas, put all that into our system, and it then calculates a value and also adjusts it to our local market.
Okay. Okay. How does that differ from a commercial property? Say someone builds a new strip mall or a new high-rise office building. How does that differ?
It actually starts out the same. Typically for a brand new property, we will do that on cost. But in the commercial world, most properties are bought and sold by the income it can generate for the owner. And so we will do an income approach based on the revenue they've received from the building, not from their business inside of it, but from the building itself. So if you would rent out a strip mall, we would be able to calculate from that rent a vacancy factor and expense factor and capitalize that to arrive at a value.
Wow, okay, all right. So looking at the Spokane County Assessor's site, or Assessor's office, your ability to keep your costs down as far as the cost per appraisal is among the lowest in the state. How's your office been able to do that?
Yeah, we're actually second lowest only to Franklin County in the state. So we have done a lot with our IT department as far as doing some automation things and some other ways that we can shortcut. But really, Josh, it boils down to we've had some really good employees there that really have worked hard for the citizens of the county.
All right, that's fantastic. Very dedicated workforce.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you the taxpayers and the citizens definitely appreciate that from any level of government.
Sure.
I mean, they absolutely appreciate that. Technology is something that is changing at all levels of government and all facets of government, every department. What types of technologies do you hope to introduce into the assessor's office?
Yeah, we've been working with our vendor, with our CAM analysis vendor, to be able to have a mobile device that our appraisers can use out in the field. We have tried through our IT department a couple of times to get one, and it just hasn't worked. And the vendor has not been open to having something like this. They now have come around to our way of thinking, and we looks like we will be testing a tablet device here in the next 6 weeks or so. And that will allow our appraisers to do everything in the field that right now they have to go out and they do their physical inspections. They take a digital camera with them and a clipboard, they take notes, they take the picture, and then have to go back to the office and input that into the computer.
Okay.
This tablet device will allow them to automatically take the picture. It will automatically upload even to our website, so you will see it in real time. They'll be able to change any characteristics, be it size, quality, condition of the property, and arrive at a value right on the site. This will allow us to be out there in front of that property more, to be able to do a better job, to make sure we're only as good as our data. And so if we can ensure that our data is good, this will help with the whole process.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So certainly it's going to eliminate the steps of, like you said, going back to the office, doing the data entry.
As well as eliminating the chances of making error by getting a property off. I mean, it's happened before. When I started at the county, we had 35 millimeter cameras.
Okay.
That we would then take into a photo processing place and get them back in about 3 or 4 days.
Oh, wow.
And we had a clipboard and we had a spiral notebook with all of the square foot rates, and this is how you valued your properties.
Wow.
So we have moved light years.
Times have certainly changed. So you're talking about maybe in about 6 weeks beta testing that technology. Are there any other counties in Washington or other states that you know that have tried this technology and whether they've had success or not?
Yeah, it was tested in Ames, Iowa.
Okay.
I did talk to the assessor there. They were very pleased with it. This company, it's called CamaCloud, that does the device part and the uplink of it, has been used with other software products, just not the one that we have. And the ones in Ames, Iowa was the first time that had been used with that. And he said it went very, very smooth. The appraisers liked it. Actually, some of the features were almost better on the tablet than they are on the desktop.
Wow,
So,
that's fantastic. Yeah. So a lot of very exciting things to look forward to there.
Definitely.
So aside from technology changing the tablets out in the field, are there any other changes you're hoping to implement within the office?
We're working really hard right now to get our senior exemption under control.
Okay.
We've had a very large backlog in that. The legislature a couple years ago increased the income limit, which provided a lot more people the opportunity to perhaps qualify for the exemption, but it's a very laborious process. Unfortunately, by the state laws, all of the verifications of income that we have to go through, it really has bogged us down. We're trying to do some automation also on that process of it, but that's one of the big things I would like to see. We are bringing in some additional help for our front counter, which will free up the person that's been doing that to also help process those exemptions.
All right, so very, very customer service focused.
Absolutely.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
So if a property is assessed, somebody gets their appraisal and they think it's either too high or they think it's too low, is there an appeals process that they can go through?
Sure there is, yeah.
Okay.
The biggest thing is if you when you get your little postcard in the mail from us in June this year, give the appraiser a call. Their number is listed on there. More often than not, we can handle things just over the phone. But there is an appeal process called through the Board of Equalization, where you will fill out a form. It will be sent to them 21 days prior to your scheduled hearing. Both the appraiser for our office and the homeowner are required to send in any written evidence they want submitted for the hearing. You would then go in front of a board at a hearing date, and they will make their decision on the appeal.
Okay.
After that point, if you're still not happy with it, there is another step through the Washington State Board of Appeals.
Okay.
And you can also go through that process.
And
there's no cost.
Okay.
No cost involved in it.
That was another follow-up question
Yeah.
I was going to have. Do we have situations in Spokane that make it to that state level situation very often, or are most of them settled at the local Board of Equalization level?
Actually, most of them are settled just between the appraiser and the owner.
Oh, okay.
Before we even
Okay.
go to hearing.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
we do have a few that go on to the state level, but most of them are really taken care of here at the local board.
Okay, all right. In the Know Your Government video that we watched just a few minutes ago, Joe talked about the levy rate. Can you expand a little bit on what exactly is the levy rate?
Oh, I'd rather not because it's really complicated. The levy rate is made up basically of all of the different budgets that are provided to our office by the 55 different taxing districts in the county. So be it the county itself, any of the municipalities, City of Spokane, City of the Valley, Latah, Deer Park, they provide us with their budgets as well as the fire districts, the cemetery districts. I mean, it really is, it involves a lot of different people. And then those budgets are all pinned to your little property. So I myself live in the county, so I pay the county portion of the tax. I don't have to pay the City of Spokane portion. You live in the City of the Valley, you would have their portion of the budget and their portion of their fire districts. Those numbers are then all divided out by the total assessed values for the areas that they control, and that creates our levy rate. We also have state local school districts, of course, and then also now with the McCleary decision, there was a larger portion allotted last year for the state to pay part of the local school levies. So.
Okay. So you listed off a number of the different taxing districts there. So how many taxing districts does the average home have, and what are some of those? I know you touched on the city that you live in, right, and the fire district. What are some of the other taxing districts, and any idea what the average number is that's attached to a single property?
It's probably between 6 and 8,
okay,
because you've got cemetery districts, library districts, fire districts, municipalities. I mean, there just are a lot.
Okay.
We also, of course, abut the surrounding counties around us. And so on some of those things, you actually share with them. So like we are the primary for Deer Park School District, but yet Deer Park School District extends up into Stevens County. Lincoln County is in charge of the Reardon School District, but many of the students that attend there and the taxpayers fund that through Spokane County. So we also have to share with the other counties, and that's right now exactly where we're at. We are waiting to get information from the surrounding counties before we can finish up our levies for this year.
Okay. In the last 2-3 years, we've had a very, very healthy housing market. We've had a lot of boom in the construction industry. What has that done for the values in Spokane County?
Yeah, we are looking. I just looked at this report yesterday about a 12 to 15% still appreciation rate for residential properties in the county. Okay. Real estate is a very cyclical thing. Typically, they run about a 7-year cycle between the booms and the busts. We have seen that Seattle's values have started to pull back. We typically seem to, in my 25 years experience, follow behind Seattle by about 16 to 18 months.
Okay.
They are not a bust over there by any stretch. They're just not, it's not quite the active market that it was. But you drive around Spokane, you see a real estate sign go up. It doesn't take too long to see that sold sign get stuck on it.
That's right. You mentioned, you touched a little bit on the senior exemptions earlier. Could you expand on that a little bit for our viewers?
Yeah, there's a program out there that has 3 different levels of exemptions depending on where your income falls. If you make less than $40,000 a year, or over 62, or disabled, you may qualify for an exemption on your property tax. We don't change the values, but it's strictly just a property tax reduction, all the way from just being exempted from the local school portion, all the way up to 100% exemption, depending, again, on your income level.
Okay.
We've got 4 gals in the office that's all they do every day. It's a pretty easy form to fill out. There is some income documentation, of course, and it has to be on your primary residence.
Okay.
So if you only live in Spokane for 4 months out of the year and you spend the rest of the time as a snowbird, this won't help you.
Okay. Okay. All right. You know, in our last few minutes here, because we're getting down to the end of the time, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, we've got lots of little subtle changes going on in the office. Nothing that is going to be earth-shattering to anybody, but we do want to really work on the customer service. We have had very good customer service in the past. We're going to work a little bit more with that. Also work a little harder with the other elected officials around the county.
Okay.
And then, like I say, with the technology changes, and who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now, technology-wise. So we'll be very open to seeing how we can move it on and continue to do such good work for the taxpayers of the county.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much. Folks, I'm afraid we are out of time. I would like to thank our guest, Tom Konis, for being with us today. As a reminder, a video of today's Spotlight can be accessed on our Spokane County homepage, as well as Spokane County's YouTube channel. I'd also like to remind our audience that Spokane County has a mobile app. It's called Spokane County On the Go. The app can be downloaded on Apple and Android devices, but for more information on that, please, I encourage you to visit our website at SpokaneCounty.org. I'm County Commissioner Josh Kerns, and thank you for joining us today on Spokane County Spotlight.